Hello, and welcome to the W.A.I.T channel. What Am I Thinking? A podcast where two sisters share uplifting conversations on fun and sometimes serious topics.
Join us each week by clicking the notification bell and subscribing to our channel. If you enjoy the show, use the share link. It's one of the best ways to expand the conversation. Hello, and welcome back to the W.A.I.T channel. What am I thinking? Well, today we are thinking about Summer House Season 8. Can you believe, Tracy, it has been 8 seasons?
I know. Oh, yeah.
I'm so excited. It looks like from the commercials and the little spots that they've been doing about future episodes, it looks like it's going to be a really good season.
I agree. I was, you were thinking you were going to only be focused on the dynamic of Carl and Lindsay, but there's still some other good relationship stuff and friendship stuff going on with the other groups, so that it's really well-rounded. It's not all concerned about Carl and Lindsay, even though theirs is quite juicy.
And it's so funny because, I'm sure everyone knows at this point what happened with that relationship. But one of the things that I'm looking forward to, I shouldn't say looking forward to, but what I wanted to see is blow by blow about this particular summer, what happened that led up to Carl backing out of the engagement / marriage.
But in reality, Lori, we already had, unfortunately, called it, and it started even last summer, which we didn't find out about it until the reunion when Danielle talked about Carl driving back from Montauk and, leaving, him and Lindsay got into it in a pretty not so fun way that he would storm off like that. And the key to me, the biggest key to the relationship, which you and I were concerned about, was the fact that Lindsay chose not to stay sober.
Yeah.
And when she chose not to stay sober, they put themselves in a situation of it was going to be difficult to make the relationship work. It just was. So, I definitely am interested in seeing the dynamics of how they got to the place, or at least how Carl got to the place of calling things off. But if this past episode is anywhere, if this is not the biggest bombshell, because I would have been done after this from both their perspectives.
And you said something very key. We called it, and it's not that we want to be the I told you so's, but some things are very obvious. And I think the sage on the show is Paige, and how she is wise beyond her years and was very vocal with what she was seeing. And she called them out on how their behavior would be one way in front of the cameras, but everybody else saw things behind the camera. And when Gabby came along, I did like in episode 1, she kind of in some way admitted that she came to that group not really knowing the history of everyone and wanting to be supportive of this couple. And I think maybe she did get the opportunity to watch the season. Maybe she did get the opportunity to see Carl and Lindsay a little bit more. What do you think? I felt that in her confessional that I saw little hints of kind of regret, how she was just so strong for them her first season and putting everybody else down and saying they weren't being supportive.
I think she regrets that she really, because Ciara's point, Gabby wanted to say Ciara just didn't like her, but I don't think Gabby saw that she wasn't, to make a friend, you got to show yourself friendly. And so you are new to the group. So for you to isolate and cling on to the new girl and this couple that is having issues in the group, you can't expect that as a warm, entry to the rest of the group. And so I think that first weekend in the first episode with her coming without Carl and Lindsay, even the ride up, I was like, does this mean that these girls have been hanging out a little bit outside of Summer House? Because the ride up was so fun and so light and just great. I loved it. So I'm like, more of that. And kudos for fresh starts and all of that stuff. So I'm looking forward to that dynamic. And if we look at the thing that preceded the big blow up in episode 2, it was because Lindsay ended up in the guy car.
Wait. We're jumping far, far ahead. Okay, let's just first talk about episode 1. Because if we're gauging what I love seeing, that group that was there, episode 1, minus Lindsay and Carl, and even Gabby said, they all clicked, they were vibing, they were having fun. And I think that's when she came to realize, wow, Summer House can be fun.
That these are not mean girls hating on love.
Absolutely. And you're right. I think that maybe after the reunion, she did get the opportunity to spend time with the girls in the city, to actually get to know them apart from Lindsay.
Right. And it was just good. I think you heard several people say, probably other than what's the married couple?
Kyle and Amanda.
Other than Kyle and Amanda, everybody had a really great weekend, and they commented on it, and it was fun. So yeah.
But I think what's even better about that is it wasn't until the following morning that they came to realize that Amanda had put Kyle in the doghouse. So that says a lot for, even when there was discord, everyone still had a good time.
Correct. So, do we want to just go on and get it over with and talk about Kyle and Amanda?
Go for it.
So it's one of those things where I can see both sides. Okay? I get where Kyle is coming from, and I also get Amanda's point. He's a workaholic, and he sees her, as, what's a nice way to say it without using the L word? He sees her as not putting forth enough effort in the workspace for the company and in a lot of ways. But I understand her saying, just because you are on 1,000 doesn't mean my normal 100 is not enough. And it's typical, I'm not you, but I am working. And he knew that about her before they got married.
And she knew that about him as well.
That's where I'm going. The thing I didn't like was her throwing up he cheated on me, and you married a ma'am, so you forgave that before you walked down the aisle. And if you didn't, we don't get to go back and throw up the past in our partner's face once we have walked down the aisle. Now, there may be new stuff you can bring up about him, but don't throw the old stuff in his face anymore. He thought he was in a safe space to vent a little bit, to try to get some perspective from Paige. And I like that Paige did say, like, he didn't throw you under the bus. It wasn't that, but I understand the fact that you don't like his complaining. So, I get it, but, they have been too perfect these past, winter house and past summer house. So I guess they were due for a little blow up. So,
I
it
think,
is what.
yeah, and I think there's something to be said for couples who work together.
Yes.
When you have these personalities that conflict with each other because your work ethic and it's different. You're either going to just accept each other for who they are or be list people. You give each other lists and just accept it's going to get done in their time frame and their speed, which clearly they have not found this balance with work. And I think that is what's spilling over into the marriage. That if she had have kept a job apart from the company that they're building, and it would put her outside of his orbit for 8 or more hours a day. When she would see him, that gnawing that's apparently fraying her nerve, that wouldn't be the case. But when you make decisions to leave your corporate job, create and build this company with your spouse, share workspace, live together, the whole thing where you never are apart, you're going to get on each other's nerves. That's a part of it.
But their stuff is so fixable. I would love to have them in a couples counseling session. I could whip them together in no time. Their stuff is fixable. So
I agree. And I think that is why the following morning after Kyle vented to Paige poolside, that Paige wanted to check in with her friend to let her know he wasn't like putting her down. He just wanted that person that he knew his wife trusted and to talk to her, because it was not even solely about his wife. He kind of talked about himself a little bit too.
He did. So I think Amanda overreacted and was in her feelings, and that probably was because of the conversation she and Kyle had, where he was saying things that, she did not feel were the real truth of what the issues were for them. But like I said, their stuff is not major. They'll be okay. So what about the new guys?
Oh, wow. Okay. So I'm loving both of them, and I think they are wonderful additions to the house. Wes, I think he has that quirky sense of humor, really funny. And Jesse Solomon, I feel that he's like that onion that we're just beginning to peel, because when we really got to meet him in episode 2 and to find out a little backstory, as Paige had the little game, tell me something we don't know about you, and how he opened up about something very personal, a medical condition. So I'm really liking these two guys, and I find it fascinating that they didn't add a female, that they just stuck with the women from last season. Yeah, and I think that's going to be good because they've got their mix going. I'm not talking about Lindsay.
Right. I agree, but I have to say, I would say Jesse redeemed himself a little bit with that story for me. He humanized himself, because I wasn't liking how he was showing up with this bravado, and I get the women and I go after the women that I like, whether they're with somebody. I don't like the way he's brushing up on Paige. I don't like that.
Yeah,
Yep. And that's not cool. I don't like that. So it's enough women that come through that house, whether the one, I mean, you got Danielle is single, you got Gabby single, you got Ciara single, you know, and it's enough party women that come through that you should be leaving Paige alone.
Well, I agree with you 100%. I'm not sure if that's an apple that he's going to continue to try and pick from the tree. We'll have to wait and see. But I agree. Knowing that she is dating someone and making those statements, you know, that does not stop him from going after women. I did not like that either.
And after what he's been through, I thought even the more you should value life in a way that you respect other people's lives too, you know. So I'm hoping he will move on. So now can we talk about the couple and, you know, the dynamics with Danielle and all that stuff?
I'm ready for, we can go ahead and because episode 1, I give it a 10 out of 10. Loved it, loved it, loved it.
Yeah.
So
And
now,
dynamic with Ciara and West, and I wish more would come out of it, but I kind of think I've seen Ciara somewhere saying she's still single, maybe, so it maybe didn't turn into anything. But he would have been a good, healthy person for her to have something with. But you know, anyway, Carl and Lindsay, their first weekend at the house.
so let's even this before they get to the house. Okay. So before they get to the house, and it's like you don't really have to look at their interaction through a microscopic lens because things are just so obvious and the cracks are just evident with these two. And I'm speaking about that scene of Carl on the basketball court playing, and Lindsay, she's approaching with the bottles of water. And after they sit down and they start talking, and Carl's talking about how he's looking forward to going out to the summer house, and he wants to have a nice summer because last summer wasn't, that great. Lindsay, on the other hand, is talking about 2 months until they get married and that next summer she could be pregnant. Did you by chance pay close attention to the facial expressions they each had? Hers was more, it seemed to me like, I'm annoyed that you are not thinking about the wedding and me having your babies. You're thinking about the summer house. And Carl's expression to me looked like, enough with the wedding already. I just want to have a fun summer.
Yeah, I agree. She was moving past summer where he was trying to live in the moment. And their focuses were clearly different. And I didn't like the fact that she was telling him like he didn't have the right to joke. It's like you can tell jokes and say stuff, but he can't joke. It wasn't even like he was being mean-spirited with, what he was saying. So I can't even tell you exactly what it was, but I know she didn't like it. And she let him know she didn't like it. Whatever it was he joked about. And it was something in relationship to the girls or summer. It was something in relation to going to the summer house. So, that's her, where it's different rules for her and everybody else, including him. So.
And we know leading up to the weekend, Ciara, she's finally getting her groove on, trying to do modeling in New York. I liked seeing that with her. I liked seeing Amanda and Carl having a lunch. I wasn't sure if it was lunch or lunch or dinner together, resolving their issues or at least acknowledging and agreeing that they needed some things to work on. So these are things that kind of preceded, I think it was like midweek before everyone went on and headed up to the Hamptons that Friday. I love the fact that they all arrived in the house before Lindsay and Carl. However,
Right.
Solomon, I think he did come in later, right?
He and Wes drove up together.
Right. They were the last to arrive. They were the last to arrive. And Lindsay, knowing her, she goes into the house. It's like what that reunion was like. It's like in your mind, do you remember how you talked to these women at the reunion, how you talked down to them? Of course it's going to be tense when you go into the house. You have to lay in the bed that you made.
And Paige and Carl had some heated exchanges, but they came in. Everybody hugged and said hello and greeted each other. It was seemingly friendly. Nobody, seemingly friendly, but still a little tension underneath.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, so what do you want to focus on next? What would be the next?
So we know that I like the peace offering. I would call it the surf and turf was Carl's peace offering.
Yes.
Which that went over well.
Yeah,
Carl knows how to play the game. Carl knows if I messed up, I'm gonna own it. We can still be friends. And I felt when he came in the house, that's the vibe that he was giving off. Now, and mind you, I've watched this episode 3 times because it's like I kept missing little things each time. And I know something happened when they were getting drinks. And Lindsay said something about she was going to pour herself a rosé. And Danielle, it was surprising to her, why rosé. I thought that it was too many calories but it was some remark about the drink that she was having.
Yeah. I think Danielle had said something like, I thought you weren't drinking wine or you weren't drinking something. And she says, yeah, I've been trying to avoid the calories, but I need, basically saying, I know I'm not supposed to be drinking this rosé, but I need it, kind of thing.
Well, clearly, by the time they left the house, Lindsay was lit.
Yeah, it had taken effect.
And I know it was more than just one glass of wine, so she truly was not watching the calories for the weekend.
And she probably had not eaten, so that she probably did not even really indulge and eat a lot at the meal. So she started drinking probably on a semi-empty stomach, and that doesn't help. We know she's kind of a petite girl, so it had taken effect because she can drink.
Lindsay can drink. But she does get you do see the effects of the alcohol very quickly. She does not have a hollow leg at all.
No, not a hollow leg. But we also have to remember, drunk Lindsay just amplifies who Lindsay is anyway.
Absolutely.
It doesn't take that much to get there, if you know what I'm saying.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah. Yes. So, are we ready to talk about them going out in the girls' car and the guys' car?
I think we've got an amped up Lindsay ready to go.
Yes.
Go for it.
She rides in the car with all the guys, and she is trying to tell Carl, a little concerned because, what's going on in the girls' car kind of thing. I should have been in that car kind of thing. And Carl is just trying to, let her know that's not, don't worry about that. It'll be okay. And apparently, from all the guys in the car, I want to say all of them, I don't know if Jesse said anything, but basically in their confessionals, they was like, Lindsay just out of nowhere starts going off. And it was kind of not good from that point on. And I guess when she gets to the club, she goes to Amanda and starts saying things like she thinks Carl is on something. And I don't know who else other than Amanda she said that to. But she tells Gabby immediately before they even get there good that she wants to leave. So if you take a step back, Lindsay is in her own head. She has a narrative going on. This is not going to be a good night. The girls were in the other car, probably already talking about me, and I don't want to be here. And she's taking it out on Carl because he didn't say, "Oh, poor Lindsay. Okay, what do we need to do? What do you want me to do?" He's being real with her and saying, "Calm down. It's going to be okay." And it didn't go well from there. So her and Gabby apparently leave, but her conversation about Carl being on something does not stay at the club. She comes back and she doubles down, triples down to Gabby about him being on something and talking about cocaine Carl. And Gabby, I don't know, did Gabby call Carl or did Carl call her?
Gabby, she called Carl.
She called Carl.
And I love that she got off the phone and said, that doesn't sound like,
Well, I think she said that sounds like a sober person.
Right. Yeah.
And once again, Lindsay's not hearing her. She doesn't take that. And so I didn't realize at first that they were in Gabby's room until Carl went to their room. And I was like, oh, she's not even in their room, which was a good thing that they slept apart. But she comes down the next morning and she still acts like she is under the influence of something because she's still telling him like he was on something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, girl, what is going on? That was really sad to me.
But that...
And what somebody said on Watch What Happens Live is for a person who is not sober, who has been drinking, to tell a person who's on a sober journey that they are using something. Oh my God, that is beyond wrong. Not only that, but this is your fiance. This is the person you're supposed to marry. This is the person that you've been so protective of that, you know, you are the one accusing him of not being sober anymore on the journey he's been on. That's not a throwaway accusation.
Which makes me believe that before the cameras started rolling, much more has gone on between these two in that relationship. For her to hit him below the belt.
Below the belt. She cut his knees out from under him.
Yeah.
And because one of the things that Andy asked Danielle on Watch What Happens Live is, now that you've seen that, because you weren't privy to that, now that you've seen that, do you still think that Lindsay was blindsided by him calling things out? And she was like, no, she was blindsided. And I think they're misunderstanding what blindsided really means.
No, Tracy. They're not.
They've got to be misunderstanding it, because the sad part is Lindsay should have been calling it off herself. If you guys are having this type of disagreement, you shouldn't even want to be going through with the marriage.
I think that this accentuates a level, unfortunately, of immaturity, a desire and need for an event, meaning the wedding.
Yeah. Yes.
And but not all of the complexities that come with being married. Thank goodness Carl realized us being together is bigger than this wedding that you are planning.
Yes. And I think he knew for his own sobriety that he could not marry her. If Lindsay could have stayed sober, I think they would have had a shot. But because of the person that shows up when she drinks, she's already easily activated. But with alcohol, it's amplified. That and knowing Carl is not the new Carl, the old Carl could get activated and go there with you. Sober Carl has no desire for that kind of drama.
But I even felt that as far...
If he was going to be with her, he knew he would always have to be ready to fight a battle.
But that was...
And with her or for her.
That was also the reason I did not believe that they complemented each other as a couple, because their characteristics, who they are to their core, is so different. And Lindsay is an uncompromising person.
Very much so.
That's a hard person to be with, especially with someone who is a alcoholic. I don't know if we can add Narcotics Anonymous. I don't know, but he has a substance abuse problem.
Yeah.
And he does not need that type of conflict in his life.
Cocaine Anonymous, CA, is the other one he has admitted to. But the thing is, that's why I also felt it was a little disingenuous the way he defended Lindsay at the reunion, because I'm like, you know the person you married to. I'm married to. I'm doing a Lindsay.
But Tracy, that is what she expected in that Sprinter van. That's the Carl she wanted to show up.
That's what I'm saying, though. I felt it was disingenuous on Carl's part, the way he did it, because he knows her. He was doing it almost like a Will Smith slapping Chris Rock, but that's a whole nother can of worms. But that's what it felt like he was doing. He had to kind of come in with both barrels, or he would have got both barrels later.
Right.
So,
but when he said in his confessional, we went in it knowing that we had each other's back.
Right.
That is what Lindsay expected, because that's what having her back means. You support me whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong.
Right. You're right. Yeah. And that was not something he could sign up for life.
So naturally, we know the following morning, the argument, it escalates, and Carl did the smart thing, because you're not going to have a productive conversation with someone who, even though I'm hoping, was sober when she woke up the next morning, but she was ready to fight. She was
irrational.
Right. Yeah. She wasn't ready she wasn't there. She didn't come to that room to have a conversation. She came to that room to fight.
Yes. To finish what she could not have happened the night before.
Right.
Ready. He would have been fine to even gloss over it and move on, at least while they were there, and they could have the real fight when they got home. But no, that's Lindsay. Let's get it on right now.
And I can't remember now. Is that how the episode ended?
Yeah. Going out running, and she's in the bed still hollering at him about stuff as he's walking out the door to go running.
So it's going to be interesting, because again, we called this way before any of this even happened. And we're just going to see what comes to fruition, what we already suspected was going to happen. But I'm just looking forward to seeing the other relationships in this group, to see how well they interact, to see if Jesse Solomon can be a good boy for Tracy.
And we didn't talk about Danielle too much and her dynamic with Lindsay. We can talk about that a little bit more, because I'm sure more of that relationship will unfold.
I'm just so sad for Danielle, because I feel at what juncture in her life is she going to be ready to just stand on her own 2 feet, not needing to kowtow to anybody just to be their friend, not needing to negate her and her own integrity or the person that she is or value herself. I feel that there's something about her, some insecurity. There's something that we don't know about Danielle that explains her behavior.
Yeah, because what she puts off is that she has this book smart, but doesn't have some common sense to know where to draw the line in relationships and stop being a pushover. So she said something on the episode to Kyle that I don't want the same relationship because he was like, you and Lindsay will never be like you were. And she was like, I don't want us to be. I don't want to go back to that relationship because that was not a good relationship for me. Now I see that. But I have a feeling that she has ended up back in a similar situation with her. I want to be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But let's just see how things unfold. And we'll see what else is going to be going down on Summer House.
Okay, so I'll let you close it out, Tracy.
So please add your comments on what you think of these first 2 episodes of Summer House. Are Lori and I missing the mark? Did we leave something big out? Let us know how you feel about all the dynamics and the goings on season 8 of Summer House. And stay tuned and continue listening to what we are thinking.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely ours and should be taken as such. Our thoughts are intended purely for entertainment purposes. Please do not take anything we say as fact or advice. Thank you for listening.